Okay, well, welcome to Purpose People. I am really excited about today because the person I've brought on is a musician. He's impacting people on the street, and it's a real varied and interesting life. So we've got him on to share a little bit about how he stepped into purpose. And we welcome Suleman.
Hi, really great to be here today.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Sean, I am wearing your beanie that you've very kindly lent me, and I like it. It's really cool. We'll talk about where they can get it from if they need it. But really, just want to share a little bit about your journey so far. I mean, you work in safety, you're helping people on the street, and you're a famous musician in Germany. So let's start about your music. Let's start there. That's a good place to start.
I think about 10 years old, I used to go to the big school to have a drum lesson.
Okay.
So I had some sort of vision young. So I started young, 10-year-old, having drum lessons. I then become the school drummer in the local secondary school.
Yeah.
I always practiced. I don't know. I always felt the need to get into school early and after school, spend time practicing the art of drums.
Yeah.
And here we are. Now 50 years old, I'm still touring the world. I started touring the world with a band I met, Mesh, in 2007.
Yeah.
And my second crowd was 15,000 people.
Wow.
So I then realised that, it all comes together. All the years of practicing and playing and other bands and things, it's like it's all been done for a reason.
Yeah, because you got an interesting story. So you played drums, and I remember at the time discovering when I got into drums and finding I went to college with your brother, and then your brother found out I played drums and connected.
Yeah,
so I got a relationship with your brother through graphic design, and
that's right.
You through drums.
Through drums, yeah.
Yeah, but you got some interesting stories just on the drumming story, because you drummed with someone for a long time, wasn't it? Was it your best mate or one of the guys that you grew up with, and sadly he passed? Do you want to tell us a little bit?
Yeah, I started working at a place called Alexandra Workwear in Thornbury, and it's funny how people come across your path. You sort of find people on your journey, and he was training me up on the company, So I said, what do you do at weekends? Oh, I play drums. I said, yeah, me.
Oh, wow.
What age are you? Well, I was the same age as him. So things started coming into place, and I sort of found this guy who's literally had the same ideas as me. Once I remember, I went off shopping, and he said, "Oh, how'd you go on the weekend?" I went shopping, bought a T-shirt. Yeah, me. What's got on it? I just got a Mustang on the front. Yeah, me. And it was actually the same T-shirt.
Wow.
He was in Bath, I was in Bristol, so we really connected well. But and through the years, he gave me a lot of. He taught me a lot about the drums, and I always called him the technician. He was always reading the magazines and everything. So he sort of taught me all the things I didn't know about drums, really.
Yeah.
Because he practiced 3-4 hours a day, and that sort of rubbed off on me. And we'd sort of go in Bristol on Drummers' Day. We'd wander around the drum shops and have a bite to eat, and that was a cool little thing we did.
Yeah.
That's all we did. And I'd go to his shows, and I'd kind of sit in the pit and. There's musicals and things, and that wasn't allowed normally, but they'd smuggle me in. So we had this really good bond, and he was travelling to rehearse for the West End. And unfortunately, the Porsche came off the road, and there was, a fatal accident. Wow. So I immediately wanted to buy the drums that he'd left behind. And it was crazy because he'd only just flown them in from America, 2 expensive drum kits.
Wow.
I said to his dad, I'll take them, I'll take both the kits. So, I now have his kits, and I've taught drums to many students, and so, including your son.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you didn't let you almost like created the legacy from what he put into you. You've passed it on, taken those kits.
Yeah, so just
people.
Yeah, just naturally, I just found it was a good thing to do, to have this legendary drum kit and let the students play on it. So it stays in the garage, it doesn't go out, it doesn't get wrecked. Yeah. So lots of people have played on these amazing drums.
Yeah, so you've got the drum cave, which my son's been in, and enjoyed the drum cave. And you're teaching students from all ages, aren't you? It's not just kids, it's adults, it's everybody that wants to
and that's the thing. I've sort of found a purpose in the way that I teach the drums to make a drummer and to have fun. I had a guy come up to me and say, look, I'm going to be rubbish, but you taught my son drums. I'm now 48 years old, can I have one drum lesson?
Okay.
I said, yeah, of course you can. And then he booked another lesson. He said, I'm rubbish, I'm not going to be very good. But he had drum kits. Obviously, his son played drums, and played in a band and things from a young age, from 11-year-old. So he had this really good set of drums that he must have thought, I want to play on these.
Yeah.
So about a year later, I came in from a night out, looked on Facebook, and he jumped up with a band.
Wow.
So he's now a drummer in a cover band now.
Oh, wow.
So he went from not being able to play drums, literally in less than a year, I got him to a standard where he could actually play with a band.
Wow.
So now he's loving life. He says it's the hardest thing he's ever done, but the most rewarding thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
So he loves playing, and it creates a social thing then, because his wife will go with him, his family, they'll go and watch, he's playing the drums, something he probably never thought he'd do. He'd done go-karting and different things. But it's funny how you can influence somebody to do something new.
Yeah, and I think that, for me, what I like about the drum cave, if you like, it is people going, I just want to give it a go. And there's no pressure.
Yeah.
And you have fun with them, and, and they do pick up things because you're teaching them to hold down beats, play rhythms. You're creating drummers rather than, reading loads of music and getting bogged down in the theory. You just want to get them up and running and on the kit. So that element of what you do there is you're very much a giver. And I think that was very much what I picked up, having been in the drum cave with you and known you for many years, that you've always given, you've always been looking out for people and how to help people. And, when we used to go out, if there was someone on their own, you would go and find them and see how they're doing and that sort of stuff. But I want a little segue into why I'm wearing this hat, because there's a whole story behind that as well.
So
go for it.
I have always walked past homeless people, and I got into this thing of saying, what's your story, mate? And I think, justify why I'm going to give a few quid, to get his food or whatever. I'd also ask, what are you going to get with the food, with the money? So I'd listen to the story and I think, what, that sounds justified,
Yeah.
What are you going to get? If I give you a £5 an hour, what are you going to buy? I'm going to go over the road and get my favourite kebab. And I'd look back and I'd see the person walking across the road and walk into the queue. I think, that's cool. Done my little bit
the
there.
perception is, giving money, are they going to spend it on drugs?
On drugs and things, and you won't get a lot with in that sort of world, with a few coins.
Yeah.
And I think I met a homeless guy just the other week, ex-homeless guy, he's now in a container home, and he said, about giving money. He said, if you decide to give a £5, then you should just give that £5 and walk on, because you wanted to give that money in the first place. You shouldn't be thinking to yourself, what is it going to be spent on? Because you decided to give that money. So whether it be £10 of your money, if I'm walking through Bristol, I want to give away £10 to a homeless person, that is my decision. And, and that's a decision for anyone.
Yeah.
If you want to feel good by giving that £10, it might be food, they're going to be in a better place, hopefully, from that £10.
Yeah, yeah.
So I learned that early on as well, that don't justify, why you're doing something. Just do it.
Just give and
give it. Yeah. And feel good. So
obviously the story behind it, because it's called Blonde Angel.
Blonde Angel Street Team, yeah. So I'll give you a lowdown. I was just coming out of a club one night in Bristol, and I saw 4 homeless people. And I had a bite me that night, so I sort of said, what you after? I love a Mars bar, the first one said. I said, Mars bar? Okay, well, I'm going to get you a Mars bar. what are you after? The next one said, I want some wet wipes. Wet wipes in a deodorant can. That's my shower.
Wow.
Okay, that's your shower. Well, okay, I'll bring these back for you. The next one was, what, a pot noodle. And I said, well, how'd you get the hot water? Well, yeah, go into coffee shops. They all give us hot water. All right, so that's an instant snack then. Yeah. So I'll bring you that back as well. And the last lady wanted a book to pass the time. She was about 60-year-old. Wanted to pass the time. I asked her a story. I was a bit, concerned why she's on the street. And she said, if you look online, you'll find my story. And she'd lost her young son in a car accident. Wow. He'd fallen out the back of a car. And I think the family had, they'd all split ways and she ended up on the street, mental health issues and things. And just sat there happily enjoying a reading on the book on the street. So I came back the next day with the things I said. I made 4 backpacks full of supplies, toothpaste, toothbrushes. I just thought, what do they need? Chocolate bars, crisps, pot noodles. So yeah, and I said I was coming back. I was shopping. There was no, not an extra plan in my day. It was like I was coming back anyway. So the next week I put on Facebook. You've got lots of people on, sort of 4,500 people on my Facebook page with music. So they usually help me. I've helped the Children's Hospice Southwest in Bristol. Yeah. And we raise money for loads of real life cuddly toys for the kids with limited life. Yeah. So we've already done things on my page, so I knew they might help me out. Yeah. My back room was full of supplies within the first week. Wow. What do you need? What do you need? What can we get you? Bin liners of clothes, all kinds of stuff. It's like a jumble sale. So I had a lot of trips to charity shops at first, but my friend's daughter wanted to get involved and he got involved. There was 3 of us. Then my brother got involved, come on the street with us. There was 4 of us. There was no page. There was no group at that point. We were just wandering around Bristol with carrier bags. Yeah. And then one day I sat down with my brother, who's a graphic designer, and I said, I want to make a page. I want to make just like a Facebook page so people know what they're donating for, what they're giving us stuff for. And I said, I've asked the guys, the others, if we can call it Blonde Angel Street Team, because we lost my cousin's wife. She went to the doctors with a headache, was sent home. Then through the night, she was making weird noises. And they called an ambulance and she was rushed to hospital where she died. Wow. So that's the Blonde Angel Street Team. That's how the name came about. And she was always a kind person, Rachel. And, she had kids and things, and we just thought it'd be good to spread that sort of kindness around the streets in the memory of somebody. So it's like a legacy. And when people see the story, they kind of jump on. And, I was giving out carrier bags one day and a homeless guy said, what's this photograph here? I suddenly realized there's a photograph of a man who passed away and the wife had passed on his clothes. Oh, wow. So I suddenly realized, and he said, wow, I can't believe. So the homeless would then, listen, when you give supplies to a homeless person, it's like we've just been given £1,000. Yeah. For them, it's massive. A pair of socks, haven't had any for 4 weeks. Can't launder on the streets. Oh, yeah, you can go to the laundrette. Not when your brain's changed. Yeah. We realised that after a while, on the street, you become a bit of an animal. The brain goes. We met a guy who was ex-special forces, now living in a container home. Took him 5 months off the street to get his head straight. Wow. He said, I did Afghanistan and I did golf. Nothing prepared me for the streets. It's so dangerous. You wake up beaten up. Wow. So many homeless sleep during the day. Okay. It's very dangerous. You learn all these things. Yeah. And also we say, what's the most important thing for you? Everybody ignores us. Rarely does anyone stop and say hello. Wow. So that ignorance and kind of like they said, we feel like ghosts. So we're doing this Blonde Angel Street Team. We've really learned a perception, what it's like to be homeless, what the eye in their eyes, how bad it is for them.
It's an interesting one because Leon, my son, you obviously know, when he was little, obviously when you're small, you see the homeless because you're at their level.
That's
So if
right.
they're sat down on the floor and someone's only like 3 foot high, they're going to see the homeless on the floor. And obviously for us, we're conditioned almost to walk past.
Yeah.
We're so used to it.
That's right. We've been taught that way.
Yeah, I'll just keep walking. They're going to spend it on drugs, which is what you've
Drink,
addressed.
they might be drunk, might be abusive. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened with Leon is we were in a place called Salzburg. We actually won a competition, or a friend of ours won a competition and gifted us the holiday, which is amazing. So we went to Salzburg and we're walking around the streets, and the whole time we kept getting stopped by Leon. So Leon kept going, "What about that person? What about this person?" Because we were there to look at the scenery, look at the shops or whatever. Leon just saw people on the street and said, "What are we going to do about it?" So we had some cash in our pockets, quite rare to be honest, because we use cards like a lot of people. And by the end of the trip, I think we must have helped about 9 different homeless people by just giving cash and money and stuff like this. Yeah. And I remember we'd then flown back and we went out, and you kind of look at the life that we live and you go. So we then went out with our friends about a week or so afterwards, and it was a birthday party, and we went out to an all-you-can-eat restaurant, a famous one at the docks.
Yeah.
And as we come out of the all-you-can-eat restaurant, there is another homeless person just sat in the corner. Leon immediately makes a beeline for him and starts chatting to him, and the guilt that hit the whole eatery party, because we were all want to roll home because we've eaten loads, was that Leon was like, "Well, what are we doing about this guy?" And we obviously gave him some money, whatever. Leon got really upset, just like, "This is just not on. Why are people like this? Why don't we do something?" And funnily enough, we were part of an organisation that was doing something, and it was a church group, and we kind of knew that on the Tuesday night, which is when we went out, they did a soup run. So we literally jumped in the car and drove. We said, there are people that do stuff like this. So we drove around, and there's a bridge, Bristol Bridge, and they just hand in food and hand in soup or whatever. And Leon doesn't remember the all-you-can-eat restaurant. He remembers handing the soup and the sandwiches, and actively doing something. So that night was like all-you-can-eat restaurant for 2 hours, say, but about 3 hours we were out with all these people that we'd never met before, hearing their story and how they ended up. And I think the most startling thing for me was realising that a lot of people just had a few bad breaks and ended up in that situation. Yeah. And I think it really brought the empathy piece on me that you're only a couple of steps away. That's right. A couple of wage packets away from maybe sofa surfing or being kicked off the sofa and onto the street. Yeah. And there is shelters and things. There's shelters and organisations, but some of the more vulnerable, not strong-minded, often get lured onto the drugs. Yeah. So that sometimes the shelter can be a dangerous place for people. Yeah. Because that's where they're targeted. Okay. So then we hear, this bench is safer for me, or I'd rather be in a tent. Can you get me a tent? Yeah, well, we can get, our group, after we're giving out the carrier bags around Bristol, we started doing a weekly drop on College Green. Yeah. So the homeless would come to us, know where we're going to be, and people come out of the woodwork and turned up with hot dogs, and a curry house turned up with loads of big pots of curry, young girls ladling the curry. Wow. So I was like, I don't even know who they are, So, they all of a sudden just turn up. I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I'd sort of stand there and I'd sort of oversee the whole operation, and then sort of I'd say, right, so, okay, we've got round one is the food. So everybody line up. 70 people were lined up. Wow. And then I said, they said, can we have any clothes? I said, no. Clothes is round 2. So I learned there's like a jumble cell otherwise. Yeah. Everybody is trying to survive, like vultures. So we did a round 2 for clothing, and that's how it kind of worked. And we, I remember bit by bit, people coming out of the woodwork and thinking, I've heard of this thing. This is quite cool, joining the page on Facebook. What do I do? Said one of our volunteers. I said, well, wander around Bristol and just maybe go into a Greggs and get a £5 Greggs card, or, or ask what they want, Yeah. Always ask what they want, because
we also learn that a homeless person could probably be a bit mad with you if you bring him a cheese sandwich and he don't like cheese.
Yeah.
Got half a sandwich for you, mate. That's your leftovers.
Yeah.
Would you ask somebody in your house to have leftovers?
Yeah.
No, you'd say, what do you want? Would you want a cup of tea, cup of coffee? And do you want a meat pasta or a veggie pasta? Oh, I love a veg. You want them veggie? Great. That is the solution. You ask somebody what they want.
Yeah.
In life, in business, we ask customers, what would you like? What's your requirement? What do you need? What's the solution?
Yeah.
But people randomly will say, I got this leftover, you can have that. What, you don't want it? Of course you got to have it. You're homeless, you need some food. Why aren't you having my leftovers?
And that's it. I mean, the thing is that just because people are on the street, they're dehumanized in the way that we treat them. And I think that was the starting thing with my son when he had brought our attention to that, and sort of like going, yeah, when you say like people feel like ghosts, that's exactly what it's like. We ghost people, and it's almost like we don't analyze our own behavior. We almost self-rationalize that we're doing it because it's safer not to do anything, or it's someone else's job. But what I love about you, Sean, is that you saw a need and you decided to meet a need. And what also has come out, just even talking now, is there's two people that have died, and from that you've created legacy with the drums and then with people being homeless. So my question to you is, what do you want your legacy to be? So imagine you've died. What do you want your legacy to be?
I think that I've helped people to get a better life.
Yeah.
I think I've had a good life, lots of success, lots of luck, found some luck. But what if that person doesn't have any luck? So I think for me, to help people find their own luck, their own journey, I'd like to think I'd help that.
So from that score, you obviously been in music, you've been with the street stuff. How do you survive? What do you do for work? Between that, because that's busy enough already.
Yeah.
So what do you do on a daily
So I'm a
basis?
safety expert for a company called RS Components.
Yeah.
And, we brought up a really big sort of PPE offer.
Yeah.
It got really big in COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
But I sort of influenced our company to buy two other companies, and we've done that. And we made a really big sort of PPE offer.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping people safe in factories and things, and also the street.
It's mad, isn't it? So you could argue what your purpose is about. You could argue
keeping people
it's
safe.
Keeping people safe,
Yeah.
So, and what I like about your life is that it's multifaceted. It's not just one thing, and that's what I do. There are other things. It's like you got your work job, which you're obviously doing well at, but you've also got these other interests that help and excite and change people's lives, so to speak.
Yeah, one of the other things I do on the side is I make art. So
Yes.
I make spray
Well,
paint.
you're apparently Banksy. So
Yeah. People said you must be Banksy. You're local. You're Bristol. But I got into this thing of making art, and I did art at school. Never really pursued it as a career.
Yeah.
But started making art, and a guy in my gym said, "Hey, you can make a picture of my hero, Jonah Lumo, the rugby player." I said, "Yeah, okay. I'll have a little think about that." And sometimes things come together, and I don't know how I did, but I made it look like Jonah Lumo up in the clouds, called The Last Flight.
Yeah.
And I put it on the New Zealand All Blacks Facebook page.
Yeah.
And his wife contacted me, because obviously Jonah Lumo passed away with kidney cancer.
Yeah.
She said, "Sean, can you email this photo of this amazing art so I can show my sons?" So I said, "I can do better than that. What's your address?" So I sent the piece of art to New Zealand.
Wow.
So it's on the family wall. So I thought, he gave a lot to rugby. My mate, who's a rugby player, said, "Hey, you got to send the original." So Nadine Lumo would sort of message me and said, "Thanks for what you've done for us. When you come to if you ever come to New Zealand, we'll take you out. We'll look after you."
Wow.
So I did that, and I found this way of connecting with art and with music. I'd sign drumsticks with energy on a drumstick, because I once a promoter's girlfriend took us to the airport, And, you know, she sort of waved us off, hugged us sort of thing, you know, and she was wearing a headscarf. And it didn't strike me why she was wearing it, but I sort of said to the promoter when we got back, you know, thanks so much for, you know, looking after the band. He said, yeah, we've had a bit of a hard time. So, you know, obviously after, you know, the chemotherapy, I suddenly realised that she's in chemo, and this girl was so cheerful and that. So I signed a drumstick and made saying with energy on it.
Okay.
And I then started doing drumsticks with energy on for any cancer victim I'd find.
Yeah.
So my hometown, and you know, I then started doing pieces of art. I sort of think it might give somebody a, you know, that bit of positivity while they're going through that real bad time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've gifted a lot of art. I think I've sold 155 worldwide.
Wow.
And I've gifted probably 50.
So I mean, so you got your art, you got your drums,
Yeah.
you've got your job that you're really good at, you got the streets that you think. So you keep yourself exceptionally busy. But so where does this thing of just wanting to give come from? Where does that wanting to help come from? Even like hanging out with you and going to different places, you'd always look for the one person that's not quite in the group.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always I think maybe my grandma installed that kindness in us. She was a very kind lady, you know, and you know, I think that's when I speak to my mum. Sometimes she says, "Oh, you know, your grandma was very kind," you know, and yeah, I think because I've had such a good life so far. You know, when I was 15, I left school and went to America. You know, so I went to high school when I was only 15 as a rugby player. Played American football in the UK, and they thought I was going to be quite good in high school over there. So I went over to one of the biggest, hardest, toughest high schools in Mississippi. So I was living in Mississippi in 1988.
Yeah.
Mixed it in with this like being in a army training camp.
Yeah.
So I won that ring.
Ah, you got it on.
Yeah. So that ring is like the Super Bowl ring for high school.
Okay. Cool.
So you will never meet another person with this ring. Even Americans, I've never met any with a high school ring.
Okay.
In my lifetime, so it's rare.
Is that what they call state? It's
a state championship ring.
Championship, yeah.
So you know, and it was really funny because you look back. Talk about the luck thing, and the coach is a Hall of Fame coach. He had all these amazing players, which were much bigger and stronger, faster than me, you know. But I think that he thought we got the chance of some English luck in the changing rooms, in the locker rooms, in the banter, the school, the coaches. My name was English Leather. That's my nickname, English Leather, or the Sundance Kid. And my mate was they called him Big John Wayne.
Okay.
They named us after cowboys, you know. But they had all this banter. We weren't amazing players compared to the guys we met. We came back really good after all the training and all the. They didn't have time to focus on us. They had trying to win a championship. But we had sort of 20,000 people watching us.
Wow. At
15, we paraded around the local town. You know, my family paid a lot of money at the time to keep me over there. And it was, so I think I was very lucky to do that. And to have that luck, you know, and this ring I've worn since 88.
Wow.
So,
amazing, eh?
You know, this ring stayed with me all that time. So I think the rings give me a lot of power, a lot of energy to do stuff in life. Because against all the odds, we went to this high school and held our own against some amazing athletes.
So you're a bit like a champion for the underdog.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like I think I've always been, you know, I sort of turn up for a team and they go, oh yeah, he's too small for a linebacker, you know, and I sort of, you know, up against guys 6'5" and 6'6", you know, and 18, 19 stone. And then all of a sudden they go, yeah, he's a linebacker. They say you got good heart.
Okay.
You know, you're a ball player. You got good heart. Yeah. So I think that's something that, you know, you can take with you through life.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's installed in me.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and I've coached many players. I've coached players to Great Britain level. I've been in papers. You know, one of the players said this guy he inspired me to be the best. So I think inspiring people has always been one of my things.
Yeah.
And with the Blonde Angels, we're now 5,100 members strong.
And that's a Facebook group, yeah?
Facebook group.
Can anyone join that?
Anyone can join the Blonde Angels street team.
Yeah.
And you can do as little as much as you want.
Yeah.
We raise money for Greg's cards. We give out £5 Greg's cards.
Yeah.
Just last month we did 100 Greg's cards.
Oh, wow, cool.
So it means that the homeless can feel human again.
Yeah.
Because you walk into a bakery with £5 gift card, it doesn't matter how you look.
Yeah.
You're now a customer.
100%.
And it means they feel human again.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful. So we do that, Christmas time we'll have sparkly Christmas bags and treats and stuff handed out all over Bristol.
Yeah.
We do the shelters as well. We do Bath as well.
Wow.
So we're now a massive organisation around Bristol now from that. Starting off with these 4 backpacks.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it really got big, and a lady came to my house and said, "Thanks for making this platform for us, because we know now how to do it."
So how many people do you think you've impacted now?
Well, we have the people on the streets. We have, I know within our group that people have found their own happiness within our group.
Yes. We've given them an outlet, right?
Well, I've even found that some are now in relationship with a homeless person, and their lives are totally different. They both got a career each.
Yeah.
It's like scratching my head thinking, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I've seen things like that. I've seen people comforted by the group thinking, this is my purpose now. We've got people that have lost their mums and dads and things, and this has given them some focus, I always say, they're proud of you.
Yeah.
Keep on this path,
So the other thing is, because I know you're into sport and stuff and fitness and stuff like that, you're into your boxing?
Yep. Yeah, a bit of boxing. Yeah, I've always used boxing as part of my training. My dad's an ex-boxing champion.
That's right, yeah.
So in the RAF, he came to England when he was sort of 15. Later went into the RAF about 17, and he was a boxing champion.
Yeah.
So he would always do a bit of boxing with us and that. So I think my dad inspired me to do a lot of my sport.
Yeah.
And travel. My dad would travel a lot, so
yeah.
So do like the fitness. And again, I think I wear the ring every day. I always think I'm still back there.
Yeah.
It always inspires me to train. But then the guy that I train with on a Sunday is 69.
Wow. Okay.
I'm 50 and he's 69, so I have to. He inspires me.
Yeah.
To lift the heavy weights and stuff, because he's still doing it.
So tell me a little bit more about what about your mum? So your dad's like this, ex-boxing champion.
Yeah, my mum, school teacher for many, many years, many generations, and even now the kids go past and say, "Hey, Mrs. Suleman, hi, Mrs. Suleman." Everybody liked her. She helped a lot of kids out if they had problems and things. She was always there to help them out. So again, that's probably part of what I have in me is what my mum did with I coached the kids. My mum was a teacher.
Yeah.
And now teach drums. My mum will say, you're a teacher.
Yeah, it's incredible because I remember we used to have the FIFA nights, didn't we? We used to wear our old 80s football kits.
That's right. Yeah.
And play FIFA together.
Yeah.
And your mum and dad were got all these teenagers around, and they were just looking after us. And I think I won one of those tournaments, by the way.
Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, I just remember them being very kind, generous, looking after everybody that was there, and
well, everyone was safe. They'd always say everyone's safe. Everyone's having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I've got to show you this because you've just given this as a gift, hey. But this is your. I'll put it up to the camera here. This is.
So this is a Touring Skyward. So
I'm not going to take the plastic off.
Okay.
Get you to sign it.
Yeah. So Touring Skyward is our last album with the band Mesh that I played with, and this sort of box set as such is 2 CDs, live CDs, and a Blu-ray tour DVD showing all the footage and everything.
Yeah.
So to be honest, that's amazing. But this was actually the first week of going out in the charts in Germany was One Behind Adele.
Oh, well.
in week one.
So you got famous fans? Who's a famous Mesh fan?
Robbie Williams is one of our
Okay.
fans.
Yeah.
So he once turned up at a concert and said, the best electronic pop band in the world.
Wow.
And they wanted to party with the band, but everyone had domestic things going on the next day, non-pop related,
Yeah.
I think he bought a beanie hat.
Yeah.
And someone's got a signed £20 note from Robbie Williams.
Wow.
Yeah. In the industry, people know we're there.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like a hidden gem. Hopefully, we get to play Glastonbury.
Is that the dream?
The Glass, I think so. Yeah. For me, to play, not pay, on a big stage, not a small stage, a big one, and they really like us. So they want us. They said, you're doing the stages around the world. You live in Bristol. Why haven't we got you on Glastonbury? One of the main stages. Would that be the dream?
Yeah, I've got some friends actually. If Natalie's watching from Escape Records, they've just done. They did a festival last year at Margam Park in Wales, and they had Noel Gallagher headlining. I know they've got a headline and a set list there, but I'm going to have a word with Natalie to see to connect you guys there and see if there's an opportunity in the future, because that's rapidly becoming a really big festival quickly as well. It's like the Wales's biggest festival so far.
Fantastic.
They've got climbs on Glastonbury. They want to.
Yeah, we supported Scouting for Girls in the summer.
Okay.
That was partly to do with the Glastonbury people in Radstock.
Yeah.
So we've toured the States.
Yeah.
Other countries around the world and things. So it'd be good to do Glastonbury on your home turf.
Yeah.
And for me that'd be the big one.
Yeah.
For the UK people to see after all these years what they've been missing, because anyone that flies from the UK to see us,
Yeah.
they're shocked by the show. How it's a big show with lighting, visuals. It's like we got like a family of fans. They'll follow us around the whole tour. They are fanatical to see us.
Yeah, it was like I think it was David Hasselhoff. You remember him from the Baywatch days and Knight Rider and stuff?
Yeah.
He had a pop career in Germany. Like, he was massive in Germany, but nowhere else. The Germans absolutely love him.
And the thing is, it's wherever your label is.
Yeah.
Wherever your label is, that's where you get promoted. And I think we've got fans. They've been playing over 20 years now.
Yeah.
The band's been going since the 90s.
Wow.
So, now we're on tour buses and things, and it's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But the UK and lots of other countries have probably missed out. But then you might have fizzled out in other countries.
Yeah.
Where it's a very fast turnover of artists.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we've just cemented our a career
You got an audience
in another country. We've got
yeah.
a big audience, and then when 20,000 people turn up with Mesh t-shirts on, that's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So I look at your life. I've known you for many years and stuff like that. And the thing that I can see is you're great at creating tribes. You've got tribes around the homeless. You've got tribes around music. With your drum cave and obviously in the band. You've got tribes obviously where you're out on the street, impacted people on a regular basis, and then inspiring other people to do the same. So if you could whittle it to one thing, what do you enjoy doing the most? What is the thing that when you wake up in the morning, because you've got so many diverse things, what gets you up? Or is it because life is so exciting?
I think for me, I go to bed late at night because I want to get the most out of the day.
Okay.
The day's not over yet for me.
Yeah.
So I have to get cramming as much as possible into a day.
Yeah.
So I would say that.
What time do you get up?
About 6:30.
Okay.
And regularly I'll probably go to bed 12:30, sometimes 1.
Yeah.
Because I've not finished my day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I go to bed sort of 10 or 11, it's like my day's not finished yet. Yeah. I'm still thinking of my brain's still going overtime, thinking of what to do next.
Yeah.
And I think for me, enjoying life. That's the big thing for me.
Yeah.
Life is a gift.
Yeah.
When you look on TV and you see people passing away at a young age and things like that, and you think, I got life.
Yeah.
So why go to bed now?
Yeah, yeah.
You
You
know,
want to maximise the amount of time you've got
maximum
online.
that
Yeah.
it's, a guy said to me once, he said, what would you have in the world if you could have anything? What would you have? And I said, I thought Lambo, I thought, big mansion maybe, because everyone think about having a big house. And yeah, so maybe a big mansion, a big, with a swimming pool and all that and a drum studio. I said, how about you then? He went, I'd have time.
Wow.
He said, because you can't buy time. So I'd have time. And I thought that, and it sort of stayed with me, because I thought, well, he's right, because, that millionaire who passed away last week, how did he use his time?
Yeah.
Was he using it wisely to try and make himself more time?
Yeah.
The person that's, turned to drugs or drink or whatever, he's carving away his time.
Yeah.
Eating loads of the wrong thing or something like that, or not looking after your health, your body. Someone who's smoking every day excessively. What if I said to that person, right, I could give you 2 more years or 3 more years if you stop doing that now?
Yeah.
How can you put money on that time?
Yeah, I think that's
If it's like time with your kids or time with
I think that's
whoever.
I think that's the big thing that shifted for me, is that element of time when I was working at a creative agency, that a lot of the clients were cigarette companies and stuff like that, and it was, you're using your talent and your skills and your time for bad, why don't you turn it for good? And ultimately those sorts of things were cutting people's time down. So for me, time is a great proving of legacy, and one of the things that I've seen in your life is that you've maximized the time. You don't waste time. You seem to get involved and help and engage. And for me, it's been a great thing to watch. And that's why I wanted to get you on the podcast. So Sean, thank you so much for today. Where can people get into Blonde Angel? Where can they get on?
Just go on Facebook and type in Blonde Angel Street Team. You can add yourself to the page, see what we do. You be a spectator because you're interested in what we do. Become a volunteer, ask to do something, maybe even donate something.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways you can be involved with the page, but just being on the page makes our numbers up, and we're a non-registered charity. We're a movement.
Yeah.
We don't have any red tape. If someone needs to be seen, we see them.
Yeah.
We get them what we need. We won the Rotary National UK and Ireland Award, won the awards for champion this year.
Okay, cool.
So we went to the NEC to get an award, and a well-educated African doctor came past me and he said, "You're the Amazon for the homeless."
Oh, wow.
Well done, sir.
Nice.
So that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And I think, the last thing I'll say is that you never realise what sort of impact you've made until something strikes you. And I went to a shelter and this guy said, Who are you? I said, Blonde Angel Street Team, Blonde Angel Street Team. Do you know how many hundreds of homeless you've saved? I was on drugs and drink until the ladies found me and got me supplies. I have a beer and a cigarette every week. They saved my life.
Wow.
So when you hear something like that, you think, wow, that's powerful. I thought he was going to have a go at me. And you realise that it's saved hundreds of people with the basic supplies and things to change the brain.
Yeah.
Then they can go on to the next thing. But taking away that pain, that need, with stuff that's just literally, a lot of it's just given away because people have got too many clothes. They've now got justified a reason to buy a new top.
Yeah.
I'll give some away.
Yeah.
And, the basic needs of food and drink, we need to survive.
Just before we finish, share just one story, like, of where you've made the biggest impact with Blonde Angels.
Yeah, so I went into when we first started off, I remember seeing a guy with one arm and no shoes on his feet. We didn't even create the page at that time, but we saw a need. And I thought, how can this guy be living rough with one arm? You know, he's got real problems there, you know, and he's nice enough to us. We got him food, and I said, what size feet are you? He said, size 7. Okay, I'm coming back next week with size 7 trainers. So I came back with a pair of Adidas and a pair of Nike. So 2 years later, I go into a shelter with some TVs and some stuff. We've given about 250 TVs in lockdown to shelters.
Yeah.
So off the street, everyone's got Netflix now, so giving away all their DVD collection, that's like gold dust from the street.
Yeah.
This guy said, I remember you. You gave me a pair of size 7 trainers. You gave me hope.
Wow.
He said, I've now met my mum just before she passed away. I was too embarrassed to meet my mum. And I've got a daughter out there I've just met, and she's a solicitor. And I've now got a connection with my daughter because of the laptop that you got me. I'm now on FaceTime with my daughter. He's now in a relationship. He's now got a place with his partner. But he remembered that pair of size 7 trainers.
That's it. And for me, and that's what I love about what you do, is you get people to remember that they're a human when they've almost given up to think that they are. And I think, you know, that legacy can only continue to inspire and help other people. And, you know, I think for people out there that want to get involved, join the Facebook group. They're doing an amazing job. As I said, there's over 5,000 people now in the group. They can always do with help. You've got a Christmas appeal coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, Christmas appeal. You know, we do Christmas bags with little chocolates in, and decoration, and, you know, socks, woolen gloves and things like that, you know, so they can feel they got a Christmas.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, one homeless person, we do over 100 bags every year. We did about 200 last year. And they're just sprayed all over the streets, into the shelters. Everyone gets Christmas bags. And yeah, we had loads donated, rugby clubs and things. We have schools involved, school kids making stuff. I've recently I got 2 harvest festivals worth of food.
Wow.
And one of the schools, the council's made up of 6 to 11-year-olds, the school council for homeless.
Okay.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so yeah, all the young ones coming through doing it, you know.
Well, you know what, Sean, it's a pleasure, and I think for me, you know, your purpose, essentially keeping people safe, both in business and on the street, and you know, it's been an incredible journey. So I'm going to keep a keen eye on what's going on. I'm sure we're going to visit the drum cave again soon.
Brilliant, thanks for
inviting me. Are you full? Are you full on the drum cave? You got room for more people?
Always got space.
You always got space for someone to drum. All right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, everybody, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.